Okay guys, welcome to this week's Friday Waffle. There's the camera's over there. I'll try and look at it. Sorry for the lack of a video last night. I'd arranged to play virtual pool with some of the channel lads, and the plan was to do the Friday Waffle before I went in, but time kind of got away from me a wee bit, and then I think I was left for like half an hour, and I thought, nah, let's just abandon it and I'll do it properly in the morning. Now, apologies about the poor sound. I don't know why, I decided to put the washing on. So I've got a washing machine thing away in the background. To be fair, it is a lot quieter than the old one, but there will be a bit of background noise, hence the reason I'm shouting. So how are you? I hope you're all good. My week's been alright. At least the snow has finally disappeared. Though, we generally do get snow sort of January, February time, so I'm sure we're not out of the woods yet. I'm sure it will return. But work's been okay. Delighted it's the weekend again. So I was playing pool last night with a few of the lads. Really good fun. Now I've been going on and on about it, but you don't have to be a pool fan to enjoy playing virtual pool. I mean, it's the same as I hate real football. I'm not a fan at all, but I enjoy playing Sensei soccer, I enjoy playing international soccer, whatever it is, so you don't need to be a fan of it. The thing I love about the pool game, and I was saying that to the lads last night, when, we were on for a couple of hours last night, when you're at work on Monday and somebody says to you, what did you get up to on Friday night? I'm not going to say, oh, I was playing the computer, or I was playing my PlayStation. I'm going to say I was playing pool with some of my pals online, and that's the difference. It's a bizarre thing. If you're playing the PlayStation, then you'd probably tell somebody you were playing the PlayStation, you're playing a video game. But the thing I love about virtual pool is it's a cracking pool game. It really is. It's so accurate, it's fun to play, it's easy to play, you can tailor it, you can make pockets bigger, all that kind of stuff. But the big thing for me is it is such a sociable game. What we were doing is we were all chatting in Discord. One of the lads, he didn't want to chat, which is absolutely fine, but he was still in Discord, so he could hear us all talking. But you've also got you can also type. You can do this. I don't know why I did that. I'm doing the Peter Kay thing. You can type a chat. You can type into it as well. So brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I sound like Richard Darling of Codemasters. Absolutely brilliant, the best game ever. Interestingly, is it not Richard Darling? David Darling. He popped up on Facebook the other day there. So I've sent him a message, and I've also sent Eugene Evans a message. Now, if you don't know who Eugene Evans is, well, in fact, to start off, if you don't know who David Darling is, David Darling and Richard Darling, his brother, they programmed games from Mastertronic back in the day, and then they formed Codemasters, and they went on to become multi-millionaires, really successful guys. So I've messaged David Darling, and I've said, look, I've got this wee YouTube channel, I would love to talk to you. He's not read my message. Chances are, I think people like that, you probably find they don't look at messages. I don't know, but and another person, Eugene Evans. Now, if you don't know who Eugene Evans is, go and stand in the corner. He was one of these precocious 17-year-old teenage bedroom coders. He worked for Imagine Software, and at the time, this was back in 1983, 1984. When Imagine were at their biggest. They were pumping out all these really mediocre shite games and making an absolute fortune. But the problem was they were bringing in all this money and they were paying ridiculous wages to all the programmers. I mean, there's an urban myth that the cleaners were running about in Ferraris. That's obviously complete bollocks. But Eugene Evans famously he owned I don't know what it was, a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or a Porsche, something like that anyway, and he didn't actually have his driving licence. So he was the youngest one. He worked with I can't remember the other guy's name. There was John Gibson. He was one of the Imagine guys, and there was another couple of guys, I can't remember offhand what they were called. But yeah, they worked for Imagine Software, and as we all know what happened to them, they basically spent all their money and they went bankrupt very, very quickly. So I've emailed Eugene Evans, and if you don't know him as well, he is probably one of the few, if only I can think of, people to star in their own video game. Or not their own video game, but to actually star as themselves in a video game. Now, Eugene Evans was in level 5 of Manic Miner, Eugene's lair. That is actually based on him. You see this guy with glasses moving up and down the screen. That is Eugene Evans. So he starred in his own video game. So he was the only person to star in his own video game until today. Yes, one of the guys that's just started watching my channel, she was in I was doing the live stream on Sunday, and she mentioned that she would attempt to put my fine figure into China Miner. Now, if you don't know what China Miner is, where have you been for the last couple of years? If you've ever watched any one of my videos, you'll know, it would be impossible not to know about China Miner. China Miner was a game programmed by Ian Gray, who I've also tried to get in touch with, by the way, but he's really elusive. China Miner it's a game based, you can see it's been heavily influenced by Manic Miner again, but it's not a patch on that game. Manic Miner's an absolute classic game. But China Miner, yeah, I'm not going to bore you with the details, but basically I do these Sunday live streams every Sunday, and I always finish playing China Miner. It's a terrible game and it is brutally difficult. So anyway, one of the guys that watch it, she said to me, look, do you want me to give it a go and try and put your face into China Miner? So I'm like, absolutely. So she got in touch with me yesterday, I think it was, and she sent me a sort of beta of what she's done, and it's just fantastic. What she's done is she's kind of tweaked the title screen, and she's replaced China Miner. I don't know what the name of the character is you play in China Miner. She's replaced him with Meme Meister, complete with baseball cap and beard. So she sent me a kind of beta yesterday, and I've asked her if there's a couple of wee tweaks she can make to it, so she's going to tweak it. Now, if anybody is any good at drawing C64, if anyone would like to have an attempt at doing a loading screen for it's still going to be China Miner. It's not going to be called anything else like Meme Meister Miner or anything like that. It's going to be China Miner, but it's Meme Meister edition. If anybody wants to have a crack at drawing a C64 loading screen, let me know, and what I can do, I can send the screenshot across to Holly and see if she can incorporate it into the game. But yeah, absolutely fantastic, it really is. So yeah, I'm probably only the second person that I can think of to actually appear in a game. So thank you very, very much, Holly. So yeah, listen, I'm just going to now, I don't normally drink these things. I always roll my eyes with disgust when I see teenagers drinking energy drinks. You know, you get these big litre cans of energy drink, Monster and that kind of stuff. Red Bull. However, this, I hope you can see that the right way, it's an espresso Monster. Now basically it's got a triple shot of coffee and it's got cream in it, and it is absolutely delicious. I love these. Now, they normally redeem for, I think it's 99 pence anywhere else, but Home Bargains, they're selling them for 29 pence each, so I've been stocking up on them. I absolutely love them. The only thing is they're extremely fattening because I've got, I mean, I can't even see that, I can't read that because my sight is so crap. I need to put glasses on. But they're like amber nectar. They're absolutely delicious. So I'm just going to open that just now. I've only got one thing that I want to talk about. There's somebody that running. Hang on a second. I'm just going to have this. Oh, that is lovely. Really nice. If if you like coffee and you like Bailey's Irish Cream, then that's kind of pretty much what it is, but you've got to drink it ice cold. Though saying that, I've actually you can put them in a cup and heat up in the microwave for 50 seconds, but it's delicious drinking it cold. Don't shake them, by the way. I mean, although they've not got any gas in them, I've shaken a couple, and when you open it up it kind of fizzes up a wee bit, so don't shake them. But yeah, they're absolutely lovely. So yeah, I just want to talk about one thing. I was listening to some of the kind of chat in Discord one Friday, I think it was, and it's the whole PlayStation 5 debacle. In other words, you cannot buy one unless you want to pay a stupid amount of money. Now, from what I gather, when the PlayStation 5 got released, I mean, when did it get released? 3-4 months ago. Scalpers, now if you don't know what a scalper is somebody who buys something and then sells it at twice, 3 times the price. Now, for some reason, scalpers, they got extremely well organised, and when the PlayStation 5, because obviously there's a massive demand for a new console, when the PlayStation 5 came out, it was impossible to buy one, absolutely impossible. It didn't matter where you went to, whether it was Amazon, I was going to say Toys R Us, they don't even exist anymore, any online place, you simply couldn't get one, and it's because scalpers had basically bought up every single unit. Now, I don't know much about the technology they use, but from what I gather, listening to a few people talking, these people, they're like professionals. They set up like bots, and they're programmed, from what I gather, they're programmed to basically stop people like me and you going in and ordering one on Amazon or Argos. They get in, they basically overload the website so that nobody else can get an order in, and they're able to get in and just buy up every single supply of these things. So that happened when the PS5 first came out. Now, I don't know, we're 4 or 5 months further forwards, and apparently you still can't buy them. Now, personally, I mean, I was interested in buying a PlayStation 5 maybe 6 months ago. My daughter was like, "Oh, can we get one, Dad?" And I thought, yeah, we probably will buy one, because you know what I'm like for technology. But I have got the interest I've got in owning a PlayStation 5 right now, even if you could just walk in and buy one off the shelf. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being I'm desperate for one, 1 being I couldn't give a monkey's, I'm probably -6. So I've got no interest in buying one at the moment. I will pick up one at some point once they kind of, probably, I don't know, they make a slim version and it comes down in price, whatever. But I've never really known something like this to exist. I mean, previously when hardware came out, we're not even talking about computers or consoles, we're talking about anything. When gimmicks come out, there's always going to be a demand for them. But if you want one, you were always able to buy one. And it's the same with when the PlayStation came out, the expectation and the hype for the PlayStation was massive. But you could walk in any shop and hand over your money and buy one. You could walk out the shop, there was none of this. You can't get one. I mean, I think the first console I'm aware of that had this over demand and under supply would probably be the Wii. I remember at the time you simply couldn't get a Wii for love nor money, and again, people were, I don't think it was scalpers so much, but people were paying daft money for them, and you just couldn't. I mean, I remember when I went to buy one, I went onto a website, I registered on this website, and basically it would kind of check all the outlets, and it would tell you where you could buy one. So the Wii was kind of the first console that I remember where there was the demand far exceeded supply. But it seems to have become a thing now with every console, and I think the PlayStation 5 has absolutely been the worst. I don't know, did it happen with the new Xbox? I don't think so. I mean, I've never really heard people talking about that. But you know what, you've got to you've got to blame, you've got to blame Sony to some extent. Well, you've got to blame them. You've also got to blame retailers. Alright, they've got a website, it allows me to go in and buy something, but they need to seriously look at themselves, because I think, the hype for the PlayStation 5 from a lot of people was massive, and the fact that people cannot buy a machine is just crazy. I've got one of my mates, one of the guys that watches the channel, he's been after a couple for his kids, and he's been trying to get one since Christmas, and he just can't get one anywhere. And Sony are almost running the danger of people saying, you know what, sticking two fingers up to Sony and saying, I want to buy your product, but right now you're not making it available to me. So the manufacturers of the hardware, Sony, Nintendo, etc., they need to sit down with all these online retailers and say, right, what's going on here? Why have we got this problem? Why are we allowing these, and I'm going to swear here, greedy bastards? And now I despise people like scalpers. I don't despise them in the same way as a murderer or a serial killer, but people who, it's one thing buying two of something. I've done that, not to make money, but if I've maybe seen a really good bargain, I'll maybe buy two and I'll give one away or sell it to my mate or whatever for the same price. But people who go out their way just to absolutely clean up and buy every single unit, knowing full well that genuine video gamers, people who genuinely want to buy one, have maybe been saving up for Christmas or whatever, they know full well that person is not going to be able to get one because they've bought all the things, and then they sell them for £1,500, £1,200. Now, the only way that these people are not going to make any money is if everyday people like myself and you guys, you absolutely refuse to give a penny more than what these things are worth. Don't give them a penny more than retail, because if they end up with, I don't know, say a scalper buys 1,000 of these, if he's then got 1,000 which he can't sell, he's going to be extremely pissed off, and that's the only way you're ever going to stop it. But I do think there's a large proportion of blame needs to go in companies like Sony. They must know, they're not stupid people, they must know full well what's going to happen. They know there's a massive demand for consoles. Surely they can come up with some system whereby I can go onto Sony's website and saying, hi Mr. Sony, can I buy a PlayStation 5 please? How much is it? £400. There you go, there's my credit card details. Send it to me when you get a chance. There must be a way around this, because if this is a sign of things to come, then I think it's going to just put people off this hobby, because they'll think, well, what's the point of... There is no point in getting into a hobby or getting excited about something if you can't physically dive into it and get it. So, people who are desperate for a PlayStation 5, chances are they may have spent the money that they had saved up, and they're thinking, well, you know what, I'll go and buy a Switch, I'll go and buy the new Xbox. And you know what, personally I think Sony deserve to take a bit of the pain, because they've not helped things. I don't believe for 1 second that they've done anything about this. Honestly, they probably couldn't give two monkeys, because if they released, I don't know, say they manufactured 500,000 PlayStation 5s, they've got the money for the 500 PlayStation 5s. They don't care whether it's my money, your money, or whether it's a scalper buying 1,000 at cost price. They've got their money, they've sold them, and if anything, I'm sure there's a large part of Sony's thinking, well, you know what, these scalpers are helping to create this stupid demand for our product, and that's probably going to help them in the long run. But I just think it's sad. Actually, I do feel sorry for people who've been desperate to get a new PlayStation 5. They're desperate to get one and they can't, and it's because of these greedy bastards. And I don't think for 1 second that a scalper is going to watch this video, but if you're a person that has bought 10, 20 or more PlayStation 5s purely to sell for a stupid inflated price, then you know what, you're an absolute dickhead. You really are. So yeah, you know, vote with your wallets, guys. Don't give these scalpers a penny more. The PlayStation 5 will still be here in a year's time. You know, but I just it concerns me, not personally, but it makes me sad when I think of this hobby of ours. It's a wonderful hobby, and to want something and not be able to get it just because there are greedy people buying up, and there's not, you know, why don't Sony must be able to make more. I do believe somebody mentioned to me yesterday, I think it was, that there is supposed to be a second supply coming out, but yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I've never known that apart from the Wii. Anything else in the past, whether it was a Commodore Amiga, C64, a SNES, a Mega Drive, they were always plentiful. You could always go anywhere in any shop and buy them. So anyway, if you are after a PlayStation 5, then good luck. I mean, what I'm going to try and do, like I said, one of my mates, he's been trying to buy a couple, and I said to him last night, excuse me, I didn't say excuse me, I said to him last night that I'm going to keep my eyes open and try and buy one, and if I'm able to buy one, then I'll let him have it for what I paid for it. You know, I'm not interested in making any money, but yeah, anyway, listen, let me just hopefully I can read the comments. I don't know how many comments there were from last week's one. Right, comments, right, okay, oops, balls. Right, Sir Lancelot, two of the finest budget games that spring to mind I had in Amiga were Deluxe Galaga, I don't know, and Lamatron. Yeah, absolutely, I had them both. Saying that, I never got to play Deluxe Galaga until fairly recently. You know, I think that was a shareware game. Lamatron, Stonewall classic game, and of course that was the first real shareware game, because previous to Lamatron, games were called crippleware. Basically, you bought it, but you could only play so much. You only got to play one level, or you know, you were on a certain time limit, or whatever. But Lamatron, Jeff Minter's thinking behind Lamatron was give the guys the full game. If they like it and you want to buy Jeff a pint, send them a £5, and apparently he got shitloads of £5 notes put in an envelope. But yeah, two classic games. Country Roadus, I love the theme music. It reminds me. Connection request on LinkedIn. Yeah, thank you very much. Love the theme tune. It reminds me of the futility of existence and that death is never far away. Well, I did mention below, but I'll need to do it. The theme tune to my Friday Waffle is Friday Waffle. It was done by my mate Mark. Mark was on the 12-hour live stream 6 months ago. Mark's a good lad, and he kind of, I don't know what he uses. I don't know if it's GarageBand or whatever, but he uses some kind of, I think it's some software anyway. And he does all these they're just like quintessential 80s. You know, think Miami Vice, whatever. They're just brilliant, absolutely fantastic. They're all instrumental. Fortunately, Mark doesn't sing. I've never heard him sing anyway. But yeah, what I'll do is, and I know Mark won't mind, I will link Mark's. He's done 2 so far. I'll put them as MP3s, and I'll put them in a link down below this video. Please feel free to download them and use them. But if you do use them in any videos or anything, please credit Mark. But yeah, I love them, I really do. Highlander, the Amiga Screen Gems pack is what you're thinking of. It included Beast 2, Back to the Future, Nightbreed, the interactive game, and Days of Thunder. My god, if there was a worst game pack ever, I would love to know. I mean, Shadow of the Beast 2, alright, I'm thinking Shadow of the Beast 1. We all know about Shadow of the Beast 1. Shadow of the Beast 2 was still pretty pish. It was all graphics over substance. Back to the Future 2, never played it, but you know, from what I gather, all Back to the Future games are shite. Nightbreed is a terrible game. I've never actually played it, but I do remember watching mates playing it. God awful. And then the least we say about Daisy Thunder. If you've seen the film, you don't need me to say anymore. But yeah, what an absolute... I mean, who actually thought of that? Who thought, yeah, let's to really make people want to buy the Amiga over the Atari ST, let's pack in these games. I mean, seriously, I'm guessing they must have been getting them cheap, which was, I don't know, awful. Right, Ray C. It's a beautiful piece that invokes memories of yesteryear. Yeah, I presume you're talking about the... it's interesting you're saying that, Ray, and obviously Country Road has just said the same. It's interesting how a piece of music can invoke the same feelings in two people. That's interesting. But like I said, it's a great piece, and you can download the full one down below. Apologies if I do forget, because I'm terrible for saying I'm going to put a link down below, or I'm going to show you a picture of this or whatever, and then by the time I actually put the video out, I completely forget. But so apologies if I haven't put the link down below. Just mention in the comments I forgot, but hopefully I will remember. Not necessarily games, but life in general. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Your friend is very talented. If you wouldn't mind sharing, that would be very kind. Absolutely, Ray. You can. I'm sure Mark would be delighted to know that people are enjoying his music. Right, Colin Jones. More top class waffling and some great name dropping. I wonder why, Colin. Question, probably been asked before. You mentioned your latest acquisition here, but what are your favourite 8 16-bit console games? What is my favourite 8 16-bit console games? Now I never, until, and I say fairly recently, well it's recent for me, until maybe 5-6 years ago, I never really owned a console. I had a SNES for a very short space of time. So, I'm trying to think, I mean, 8-bit, could we call, well, Game Boy, the Game Boy's 8-bit. I never had an NES up until fairly recently. I did own a Master System for a short space of time. So yeah, I think that's, well no, are we going to include the PC Engine as an 8 or 16-bit console? Because some people say it's got, is it 2 8-bit processors or something? I'm going to include it as an 8-bit one. So let me think. My favourite Game Boy game, it would have to be Tetris. I think Tetris is out on virtually every machine ever, but I think it's just, the Game Boy is the perfect platform, no pun intended, perfect platform for such a game. It's just, it's the type of game you want is to be able to lie back in a nice comfy chair and play it. Although I think when they do the what do you call it? They do the, I've just got an important text message here. They do the, what do you call it? When they have the World High Score Championships in Tetris, they use the NES one. No, I think Game Boy wise, it would have to be Tetris. Again, I can't really comment on the NES because I've only owned one for a couple of weeks. But I'm going to go for the PC Engine now. Blimey, what is my favourite PC Engine game? That is a tough one. There are so many good games. Oh man, I'm trying to think. You know what, I think I would have to now, I know it's sometimes picking your favourite game based on a system from 30 years ago, it kind of feels null and void, because we've now, through the wonders of MAME, we can now play the arcade version of a game. But forgetting that we've got MAME, I would probably say my favourite PC Engine game would be Galaga 90, or I think it came out Galaga 88 and Galaga 90, but I think they're both the same game. I don't really know what the difference is, other than the difference in title, but I mean, it's an arcade perfect. It is arcade perfect. fantastic. So forgetting that I'd played the arcade one, it's an absolute sublime game. I'm not really a big fan of Galaga, but I just like the different weapons, and there's lots of different bits. There's even like scrolling levels in that as well. It's a wonderful game. So yeah, Galaga 88, I believe 90, and that's on the PC Engine. And on the Game Boy, it would have to be Tetris. And so that's 8-bit, 16-bit. I'm not going to include the game. I'm not going to include the PC Engine as a 16-bit. It needs to either decide what it is. So that's an 8-bit. 16-bit. We're going to go for. It's going to be Mega Drive or SNES. Oh, what is my favourite game? I mean, I did own a SNES for a wee while until I sold it. I can't remember what I sold it for. No idea. I'm just trying to think. What else could it possibly be? I mean, there's some brilliant games in the Mega Drive. I think it would have to be. Super Mario Kart on the SNES. I remember watching the game getting played on Games Master, and I just thought it looked incredible, and I was so jealous of people getting to play this game, and I just didn't have the money to buy one. I thought, I'm never going to own one, and then eventually I did. I went and I bought a SNES. I bought the Mario All-Stars pack, and I think I also got Mario Kart. Came in the blue kind of cardboard thing. Yeah, it would have to be SNES Mario Kart. In my mind, it's still, although the Mario Kart 8 that came out in the Wii U and also the Switch is awesome, I still like the simplistic nature and playability of the original SNES one. So yeah, thanks Colin, that's a good question. Right, next is Del Boy. Hi Alan, apologies for my mind at the moment. Now, I did speak to Dale, by the way, about this, and he's happy for me to read this. Well, the fact it's put on YouTube, he's happy enough for me to read this question out. I had a bit of sad news today, but anyway, listening to the Waffles on music, and Sid, you mentioned how sometimes listening to a new track has piqued your interest to listen to more and possibly download whole discologies. Back in the day, I did listening to a new track also have back in the day, did listening to a new track also have the same effect? And how generally did you get to listen to new tracks, i.e. top of the pops, radio charts, friends, family, films? Thank you, my friend, for always listening and answering. Excelsior. You're very welcome, Dale. Yeah, I did. I mean, when I was lads, back in the 80s, I was into ska music, I was into Madness, the Specials, Selector, the Beat. Still, I don't really listen to the Beat so much now, but I still love the Specials. I think I've seen the Specials live twice, and they're just awesome. I mean, the first time I saw them, I went to a gig with my mate Dave, and I saw them at the Barrowlands, I think it was, in Glasgow, and listening to them playing live sort of 40 years after I'd kind of been listening to it, it was amazing. Suddenly I was like taken back. I was like 12 years old again. So yeah, that kind of music. And then I got into, I was always a big fan of electronic kind of music. I loved sort of Jean-Michel Jarre, that was a bit kind of later on. Gary Newman, Depeche Mode. I also like the kind of, what would you call it, soft rock, progressive rock, Marillion, Magnum, not the Ice Lolly, what other stuff? I loved like Christy Barr. So I mean, like a perfect example, one of my mates, he used to play this album called Spanish Train by Christy Barr. Now, I remember looking at the album cover and I thought, what the hell is this all about? It looked like an ancient album. And there was this one song called Spanish Train, and it was quite unlike anything I'd ever heard before. And I borrowed his album, I think I taped it actually, and I fell in love with the guy's music. He's a storyteller, and I love it. And to this day, I'm still a massive Christy Burr fan. So yeah, I mean, just what you were saying there, Dale, I would maybe hear it, not so much, I didn't really listen to the radio all that often back then. I don't listen to the radio much now, to be honest. It would usually be, back in the 80s, it would be, you would go to your mate's house, and one of the things that you did in the 80s was you would say, can I look at your record collection? And you would flick through their singles, and you'd flick through their albums. It's not something you would ever do now, because it's all online, and you would never say to somebody, can I look at your CD collection? That just wouldn't hello. That would be all wrong to say to somebody, can I come up to your house and look at your CDs? But yeah, back in the 80s, that was a thing you did. You looked at each other's records, and you would leaf through them and that kind of stuff. So a lot of the time it would be music that my mates would listen to, and that's what got me into a lot of groups like the Skids, 10-Pole Tudor, Teardrop Explodes, what else? B-52s, all these kind of groups, the Rosillos. Groups that I just, the Cramps as well, you know, people would let me, I'd listen to a tune, I think, I like that. And the same way, I suppose, music as well, Del, sometimes I would hear a song, and I think, I really, really like that. I mean, nowadays, I've got to admit, I don't really listen to much modern music at all. I know I should. I'm kind of stuck in my ways. I still listen to all the stuff that I loved, and I'm going through a massive Maiden renaissance, thanks in no small part to Panther UK and Lucosa. They did a cracking video with their mate Jim last week, and they were talking about what is the best Iron Maiden album, and I'm probably about a third of the way into the video, and I'm really enjoying it. And hearing people wax lyrical about how much, when Lucosa says that is the fucking best track ever, it makes you want to go in and listen to it, because you're basically being told. It's the same with a computer game. When somebody told you a computer game was great, you would want to go and try it. And it's the same in music. When somebody tells you, when you've got a similar taste to this person, and they tell you that this is the best track ever, it makes you want to go in and listen for yourself. I don't always agree with everybody, obviously. Life would be pretty boring if that was the case. But yeah, I'm enjoying revisiting Iron Maiden. I was a big fan. I've seen them twice in concert down at Donington, Monsters of Rock. They're an amazing live band, and I kind of got out of listening to them for a long, long time. But I'm really enjoying getting back into this stuff. So anyway, Dale, thank you very, very much. Next is Wee Bob. Great waffling. Sorry I've not been around much. Busy with drawing a lot. Glad you like the drawing enough that it gets a famous spot on the wall. Cheers for that. Well, it's my pleasure, Bob. I mean, it's a beautiful picture that you've done. Bob drew the picture of Elvis Presley, and he's got a kind of montage with the Berserk character with the kind of like the sunset or the sunrise. It's a beautiful picture. Excuse me. Question for next waffle. My daughter was playing Super Hot on VR, but it is not easy to choose a different level once you've chosen the one you want. This was frustrating for her as the level she chose was too difficult to get past. Does any game particularly now come to mind that was not very intuitive in keys or other aspects, but still a great game? I know exactly what you're talking about. I've never played that game, Bob. No, the one game that instantly springs to mind, and it's actually stopped me playing it sometimes because I couldn't figure it out, is Emily Hughes International Soccer. It's an old 8-bit football game. I've got a sore neck because I'm kind of looking down here. It's like the sort of seminal sequel to International Soccer. It's a brilliant game, but what they've tried to do, they've tried to be more clever. Instead of just having text and you move the joystick, they decided to try and embrace the 16-bit mouse control, but on a Commodore 64. And so you've got this really horrible, unwieldy icon. You move a mouse pointer with a joystick, and even the way you've got to try and go in to set up a game, excuse me, it's just, instead of saying computer controlled or human controlled, you've got to go up and click, and you've got to physically delete where it says computer and type in a name. It's an awful system. And I remember trying to play it a couple of years back, and you know what, I simply could not remember how to actually start a game. Obviously, if you bought the game like I did back in the day, you'd have instructions, but it's a terrible, it's a god-awful front end, but it's a cracking game. And I now know how to do it, so yeah. So listen, thanks for the question, Bob. And next is Mr. Swinbuckle. Question for next waffle: of all the type of game controllers out there, I think the trackball gets the least love. Although it's been a while since I used a trackball, possibly some 30 odd years, I do think that this is a little undeserving. For as Tony Temple says in your video with him, a game like Missile Command needs to be experienced properly with this controller. Not sure if you agree with me in this, but my question this week is, barring Missile Command, what games are best played with a trackball? Or if you like, what is your favourite mouse-only game? Trackball games, yeah, I mean Missile Command, it simply could not be played with anything else. I mean there's home ports out there that use the joystick, but it just doesn't work at all. It's got to be you need, as Tony said, you need the precise movement of a trackball, which a digital controller just wouldn't offer. So games that have to be played with trackball, Marble Madness, that's the obvious one. Crystal Castles, all I'm doing is picking games that had trackballs in the arcade. Playing these with joysticks is just not as good. What else? I've got a trackball there on my little main cab. Now I use games that used to use spinners or analog controls. So things like Outrun, Chase HQ, pole position. It's fantastic using a trackball to steer. It sounds daft, but it plays really, really well. So yeah, any kind of driving game, not a top-down viewer so much like Super Sprint, but a game like Outrun, a sort of first-person driving game, trackballs are brilliant. Other games that work well with trackballs are spinner games. Tempest, Arkanoid, they play brilliantly with the trackball. Can't think of anything else offhand, but the trackball has absolutely got a place in history. It's a great controller if the game has been designed for that controller in mind. The only problem is, and it's sad, but trying to buy a trackball controller is really expensive. I would love to buy one, but they're really, really daftly priced. I might go and have another look just to see if they've maybe come down in price, but I think because they're so they're so bespoke that they're probably made in very short supply. But great question, Milfy. And my favourite mouse-only game is probably going to be Marble Madness, I think. Lovely game. And I'm just conscious my iPad might run out of space, so I need to kind of crack on quickly. Craig Flanagan, one for a debate: was the ColecoVision a success or a failure? ColecoVision, I'm lucky enough to have one. I did buy all the extra gizmos and the add-ons for it, but I sold them because it was just, I never used it. The ColecoVision was a lovely machine. It was quite powerful. I mean, it was more powerful than it came out just after the Atari 2600 in television, but it's so much better. I would almost say, I don't know what the power is, I would almost say it's kind of on a par with an NES, maybe not. ColecoVision is a lovely machine. The controllers are bloody horrendous. They're like this square TV remote control thing, and it's got this horrible stick with a kind of round wheel on the top. They're horrible. Was it a failure or a success? I think it would probably, purely from a selling point of view, I think we'd probably have to deem it a failure. I didn't really know anybody that had one. I think it was quite expensive. I mean, they did try to sell it as a home computer. You could buy a disk drive, you could buy a tape deck, you could buy a keyboard, but that didn't sell. I mean, if you've got a pack that's got all that in it, you're sitting on a gold mine. But yeah, I think it came along at the wrong time. The Atari 2600 was cheaper. it was getting all the games. So I think the ColecoVision, a bit like the Vectrex, it was a wonderful system, but it just never got the support, which is a shame. Carol, how about Olympic Soccer PlayStation 1? So buggy it gets hilarious. You can score from the centre spot, add loads of curls to the ball with the D-pad. I think I've actually played that. I'm sure I actually bought that for the PlayStation many years ago. Yeah, it had the really, really primitive kind of polygon graphics. And lastly, yeah, this is the last one because the iPad is going to run out, and this is from Panther UK. Cracking waffle skipper. Cheese and onion omelette with chips has to have HP, or are you probably breaking several laws? For Nick's Waffle, if you had to describe the love of retro games to someone that didn't really know much about the hobby but was interested, how would you do it? Cheers, mate. How would I describe retro gaming? It's taking something that excited me so much back in the day. It was something that you had to be there to experience it. It was such a worldly wonder back in the late 70s, early 80s, getting to see these images on a TV that you could actually move. It was unlike anything I'd ever known before and since. And so it was so exciting. But the thing is, being a kid, I couldn't afford to buy. I mean, I always wanted an Atari 2600. My mum and dad were never going to buy it for me. And so I used to watch adverts on TVs. I would go into the shops and stare at them goggle-eyed, thinking I'm never going to ever own one. And then like Space Invaders came along, and it was just wow. It would be like me now looking at a Ferrari thinking, well, I would love to own one of these, but I never am. That's what it was like with seeing arcade machines Galaxian. So it was a wonderful time in my life, and to be able to now, 40 years on, be able to still enjoy all these games that I never got to own them. You know, I mean, look at that. I've got a Defender cabinet. Yeah, it's not a real one, but you know what I mean. I've got all the games behind me. Being able to play all these games now, it just invokes all these happy memories, and I still get excited even now, firing up MAME and playing Terra Cresta or Galaxian or Commando, whatever. It's been able to revisit a part of your childhood, and it tastes just as sweet now as it did then. But apart from the whole nostalgia thing, I just like playing video games. I think they're an excellent way to waste time. I mean, I'll fire this bad boy up. I'll put the oven on, and I'll put my dinner in the oven, and I'll fire up that, and I'll have a couple of games of Berserk or whatever. It's just I've never ever grown out of it, and I'm 53 years old now, and I'm never likely to grow out of it. As long as I can still move my hands and hold a joystick, whatever, I'm still going to be playing them. So yeah, it's been able to revisit and experience and taste, you know, in inverted commas, the excitement that I had as a child back in 1980, 81, 82, whatever it was. Being able to still, it's a tangible thing, still being able to experience that love now is just as special, and that's why I love video games. So anyway, listen, before this cuts out, I just want to say thank you as always to everybody that watches my channel. There will be a live stream this Sunday, 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, and as I said, there is going to be a premiere of the China Minor Meme Meister edition, and massive thanks to Holly for coding it. I'm looking forward to playing it properly. So, and listen guys, I hope you have an excellent Saturday and Sunday, and I'll hopefully catch you guys up tomorrow night. As always guys, thank you very much for watching.